Hey there, my name is Kris Krohn, and today I'm going to be talking about how much money you can actually make in a real estate partnership. You see, I've been partnering with people in real estate for the last 15 years, and in that period of time, I've had a chance to make millions upon millions of dollars for my partners and myself. And so today, what I wanted to do is break it down, help you understand how partnerships work, talk about what both parties are doing, and then I also want to break down for you the kind of money that can be made. So I'm going to actually do a real estate game plan for partnerships to actually show you how we build a legacy of wealth, financial independence, and all those benefits that you're looking for in real estate. Now, to help me out today, I have got my trusty handheld whiteboard. And I want to start by helping you understand just a couple of the basics. So when I partner with people, which might be different than how other people partner, the way I've done it for the last 15 years, is that this represents everything that needs to be done. And this partnership is going to be divided 50-50. There's stuff that I'm responsible for, there's stuff that they're responsible for. Now, if you think of real estate as a whole, there are things that real estate needs. Check this out. On one hand, real estate's gonna need some money. We're gonna put that on this side, if you will. And it does take money to make money. But it doesn't have to be your money, it just has to be somebody's. I use the bank's money all the time. My partners come in, and the reason why my partners want to contribute capital is because of something that I can bring to the table that your real estate also needs. For example, real estate is going to need someone to do the research and comb through 1,000 properties to find the winner, to actually find the really good deal, to lock it down, negotiate it the right way, do it in the most advantageous way possible. Someone's going to have to take care of the fix-ups. There will be repairs. There will be maintenance on the property. And that's a lot of detail work. And this is where you can pick up 100 man-hours really, really easy. Once you actually purchase the property, you're going to need property management to come in and manage it, and someone to manage the property managers. And then lastly, when it comes to strategy, at least when I do real estate, my financial partners typically don't like paying taxes. I don't like paying taxes. I use all the normal real estate loopholes that there are, which means that I'm using tax-free refinances. I'm using 1031 exchanges upon the sale of property, and basically how to exit this property. So basically, if you look at all the work there is and all the money is, we have a name for these two sides, and if you're doing everything, it makes up the whole. On this side, this is what we call the active manager. My team, for example, we average 342 hours per property. That is 342 hours that a lot of my real estate partners want to have nothing to do with. They want to be there for high-level strategy, make the important decisions, they put in the money, and this person is called the funding partner. Okay, so if you take a look at both of these, you've got your active manager, your funding partner. This person's usually putting in hundreds of hours per deal, and this person is usually just putting in the money, and then they put their heads together and they come up with strategy. Now, understand that partnering in real estate is basically a way of saying there's a lot that it takes to do real estate successfully. You might have some of the parts, I might have some of the parts if we put them together. I mean, my first partnership with my father-in-law that started 15 years ago was all because he saw how much work and effort I was putting into real estate. He saw how much money I was making, and he saw that I was clearly, my performance was exceeding 401ks, IRAs, and things like that. So he came up with the money and said, hey, let's partner, let's do this 50-50 thing. He was my very first partner. But what's come from then over the last 15 years has been something quite amazing. And so I want to break it all down for you now in what I call an actual game plan. First of all, I do want to say that for a partnership to work, both parties have to really appreciate what either party is doing. You know, this person is putting financial skin in the game initially, and only initially, because there's a lot of profits that roll forward. And then this person needs to be appreciated for all of the things that they're bringing to the table. But I'm going to tell you, this person can spend all their time doing a lot of work, but not necessarily improve the partnership if they're not finding the right deals or if they're not managing it correctly. So let's talk about what the actual game plan is. This is the part of the video that I think you're really going to get a lot out of, and I want you to be aware that a game plan is about having a vision. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share something for illustrative purposes. I'm not making any promises of what's going to happen, but I do want to lean very heavily on my experience on thousands of deals and share with you what I believe the real potential and possibilities are inside a partnership. Let's just say for a moment that I partnered with somebody and we were going to buy 5 homes together. They were going to put up the money on 5 properties. Me and my team were going to do all the work, okay? So here's what that game plan might initially look like. First, we're going to go out there and we're going to buy our 5 homes, but these can't be just any 5 homes. I'm going to share with you standards that other people are going to have a hard time maybe living up to because I have an extensive team and an extensive network that I've spent millions of dollars building. But what I'm going to do when I buy my 5 homes is I am typically looking for homes that have a performance review up front where we're expecting a 20% ROI. And that 20% ROI, the reason why that number is so important is because some people will get stuck on fees and what's my interest rate. Listen, that the society has bred you to be that way, but all of it factors into one number. What is my ROI? My ROI is going to take into account my appreciation and growth on the property. It's going to take into account the cash flow. It's going to take into account all of the expenses. It's going to take into account the management fees. It's going to take into account my vacancies, my turnover, right? There's a lot of things that factor into this. There's going to be equity that builds up. There's going to be principal reduction because we are paying down the loan. But you need to understand, we're not trying to pay off the home. In fact, we're only going to hold these homes for generally 5 years. Could be 3, could be 5, could be 7. And the reason why is because after 7, 8, 9 years, you start picking up $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of work that the property is going to need. So we like to get in at the most profitable point. Now, there's one other thing that you need to know. Hitting a 20% annual ROI, that is not easy. If you just do real estate in your backyard, the likelihood is you're not going to hit that. Timing in the market, you might, but you're not going to sustain it over time. This is a combination of macro and microeconomics. The macro is the big picture that, think about it, there are 350 markets around the United States, and they're not all equal. There are some in, excuse me, there are some in this country that have high population growth, people are making babies, companies are moving in, there's a lot of attractions, there's desirability in that area. All 350 markets, they are entirely different from each other. So what I do is I'll step into the markets with the macroeconomics, with the areas that have the highest growth rates, that have everything stacking up my favor, where the tenants make more money but can afford more, or the kind of people that have the income levels that could actually take care of the house more and have less repairs on it. There's all these factors, right? Once you select a big picture market, then you can go in and do the microeconomics of finding the right deal. Now you put those two together, and is 20% possible? Well, not exactly for the average person out there. They can get lucky, but if you subscribe to my channel and learn and do enough real estate over time, you can learn how to do well. Right now, most investors average between 3 and 8%. And the closer they get to that 8% mark, they're all striving, they're all dreaming for a 10% cap rate. They're hoping that they can do that. We're exceeding that far more than double, but you gotta look beyond the deal, because check it out. The game plan is a feature of time, not just doing a deal in the moment. You gotta learn to think in decades. That's how you actually become successful in real estate. Because what I'm sharing with you, it's not get rich quick, and it does take time, but watch how much money it can actually make you. So if we buy these 5 homes, then there are 2 events that I'm looking for. There's a 3-year event and there's a 5-year event. The 3-year event is basically the earliest moment when we can do a cash out refinance. This is a tax-free event, so it's really important. At 5 years is typically when we look at selling. It could happen earlier, which often happens. It could happen a little later, but this is where we're utilizing a financial instrument called a 1031 exchange. And this is legal tax code that allows us to actually remove the profits from one property through a sale, putting it into the next property and avoiding the capital gains tax and basically rolling it forward. Through these 2 instruments, you can keep on basically, it's like standing on the top of a mountain and you take these 5 little snowballs, it's a small amount of money, and you start rolling them down the hill, and with time, they're gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger if you have that 20% ROI. Now during this 3 to 5 year period of time, here's what the goal is. The goal is to double the value of the properties. Now, if you can double the value, let's just say every 5 years, and by the way, do the math, 20%, 5 years in a row, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 100% on your money. If 5 years we're doubling it, then, or in year three, the refinance is allowing us to take these 5 properties, keep them, and basically put them into 5 more. Now we're up to 10 properties. We've doubled the portfolio, and now we're not just earning 20% here. This ROI will drop a little bit, but now we're earning 20% where? Here. Now all of a sudden, guess what we're doing? We're actually getting double returns on the same money. This is the compounding effect and the velocitization of money that we're talking about. Now, but by year 5, when we sell these off, guess what we're gonna do? We're exchanging them either way through one of these 2 methodologies to basically get 10 homes working on doubling their value. And so what we want to do over the next 5 years is we want to double them again. And basically at year 10, what you could be looking at as having quadrupled the value in these 5 homes, we essentially turned into $1 million. Now, 10 years is a very short period of time to take that amount of money and actually turning it into $1 million. It's pretty exciting. And one of my mentors taught me think in terms of decades, because when I started my real estate, I was only out there and seriously thinking about how much money can I make this year? How much money can I make right now? I was focused on things like cash flow. And I'm just telling you, big picture, that's the small stuff. Here's the big picture. After 10 years making $1 million, what would happen if you did this for another decade? 20 years is a lot of time to wait, but guess what? 20 years is time that will pass one way or the other. And if you have this working in the background, if we do the same thing we did here and we doubled and doubled, if we double this over twice and quadruple, now we're sitting at $4 million on what we originally started with and what we were able to turn that into. Now, have I seen these growth rates and have we been able to sustain this with time? Yeah, I've witnessed this over and over and over again. This stuff is real. But I want you to understand that when it comes back to who makes a good partner and a good active manager, who should do this on their own and who should partner up, here's what you got to seriously ask yourself. Do you want to put in the hundreds of hours to do all of these things and at the beginner level? Because remember, there's a growth curve. You're not going to be good at this at first. In fact, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. And you're going to mess up on your first deals. You're not going to know how to crunch all the numbers. You're not going to know how to invest out of state. And so what happens here is people will come and say, well, I'll bring the money, but I want to start with someone that is already at the top of the learning curve so that I don't actually have to go through and make that trial and error again, which is something I do for people. I find partners, I bring them together, we come together, and I'll actually build people's portfolios. And watching this video, you might be thinking, I have a parent that I could actually partner with. I have somebody else. And by combining the resources, we're able to do things that we couldn't do on our own. In real estate, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. That looks like an 11 to me. In other words, there's a multiplication factor. There's so much more. People should not partner if they are hands-on, do-it-yourselfers that say, I want to do all of this stuff and I have the money. In that scenario, you really should go and do all the real estate yourself. If you're saying, hey, you know what? If you want something done right, don't do it yourself. Pull in the team of experts. Then a partnership is something that could make more sense. The most important part of this game plan that I want you to understand and take note of, it's not about getting a really good deal. It's about being able to perform over and over and over again and leapfrog your money and velocitize it. Think velocity. And it's like, how do I take my assets sitting in 1 and then make the same ROI sitting in 2 and make the same ROI sitting in 4 and make the same ROI sitting in 8? And by doing that, thinking what you're doing is you're now doubling your money and then doubling it again and doubling it again and doubling it again. And it's just a function of time. Now, there are even ways to accelerate this faster. I actually teach them at my live events. I've got one coming up next week. My partners are flying in town. I have a special evening where I'm going to be sharing with them the acceleration. But for today, I just wanted to help you understand more the kind of potential that lies within partnerships and the kind of people that should partner together. If any of this information was useful for you or beneficial, or if you want to know more, I want to invite you to click a link in the description below where you have a chance to talk to a member of my team, get a private consultation. You might be sitting in a situation where you got no money, you got a little bit of money saved up, you've saved up something, you're looking for a partner. Whatever you're looking for, if you want to know your next real estate step, click the link in the description below and my team will show you the way.